Greetings, citizens, and welcome to another episode of Mars versus Venus. I am your host with the most, What's in Store with Timor. And we got a doozy of a show for you today. Great show topics, great questions, and a phenomenal cast of characters. The co-hosts. Start introductions from left to right. Let's do it.
The voice of reason.
I am Delicious.
That is a wonderful name. Give us that name one more time for the people out there.
Delicious.
Nice. I want to start this show by saying you viewers continue to keep chiming in, continue to keep pushing out these questions, these hot show topics, and the producers gave you guys a little doozy. They're knocking off the corners of the show, taking off the top, and we're going to open up the show a little bit more. Not just questions about relationships, but we're going to touch on hot topics and anything that's going on in the world today. And I believe that's going to take this show straight to the top. So with that being said, we're going to just dive right in. Question number one. 6,000 drug offenders will be freed this month. The largest released in history. What's you guys' thoughts on it? No violent offenders, but just drug charges, drug offenders. They will be 6,000 of them released.
Was that in Ohio or in the whole United States?
I think it's throughout.
Well, I say the drug population in our communities is definitely going to pick back up because everybody hasn't changed.
What's your thoughts on it?
The rehabilitation, I can't speak on. As far as them paying their debt to society, I believe everybody deserves a second or third chance. You know, if they serve their time or if this is just like an early release to free up area in the prison system. But I believe it's cool if you served your time. You know what I mean? Everybody, be honest, everybody has done something that warrant jail time for real. They might just not got caught, you know?
This is true.
So if you served your time, be free.
I think it's a positive thing. 6,000 people being released. They're non-violent offenders. You know, if they paid their debt to society, why not release them? Mm-hmm. We're paying, as you know,
right.
The taxpayers. We're paying to put these guys up. So let these guys come home, as well as females. Try to get a job. Try to get on their feet, and hopefully they will not go back to what landed them there.
Right.
You know, let's hope that they were rehabilitated while sitting down. You know, that time to think everything over, that time to really just access their life and just, you know, try to move on from that situation. Anything else you got on it?
I would like to see the statistics for that in a year to see who's still in jail or who went back to jail, who has a job, who's changing the community or who's harming the community. I'd love to know.
Great point.
I have a question for T-Licious. Are you an informant?
Oh
I don't
my
have
God.
anything to do with any law enforcement.
Oh, you gotta look.
I'm kind of from the hood.
Oh boy. Here's another great question sent to our viewers, from our viewers. What's your thoughts on all of these reality shows? All of these reality shows that's coming out the blue, the Love and Hip Hop, the this, the that, you know, what's you guys' thoughts on these reality shows? Is it shows of just ignorance? Is it shows of substance? Is it shows of what's going on right now? Is it trending? What's you guys' thoughts on that?
Definitely trendy, and they're getting out of hand at this point. You can make a reality show about anything, not necessarily worth anything.
This is true.
And they're going to put them on the air over something that's more positive for us and our children to be watching. They're just taking over.
That's a great point. And it has to be an audience for this stuff. Because, I mean, show after show after show after show continues to keep popping up. And it's like, what in the world is going on? Mm-hmm. The show, but it's like the shows of substance, they're few and far in between.
Right.
You know, the shows with any meaning, with any just real thought behind it.
Right.
You know, it's like they're far and few between. What you got? What's your thoughts?
I don't care for them at all because for one thing, it's exploiting people's personal life, which I believe everybody should have some level of personal life. Second of all, it was. I grew up in church, you know, and the old people used to say that, you know, the TV, they took it to an extreme, but their reasoning was correct behind it. You know, the TV was that of the devil, which they said. And I believe a lot of times we find ourselves being entertained by the television when we could be doing more positive things. A lot of times our children are babysat by it. A lot of times our time is occupied by it. A lot of times a lot of stuff that comes into our whole mental capacity, our corridors, academia, if you will.
Great word.
It makes no sense. You know what I mean? It makes a lot of times you could be thinking, reading, studying, meditating on something positive that's actually going to help you, because the reality is you're watching these people perform, act like idiots most of the time.
True.
And what are you gaining from it? Nothing but a cable bill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, my personal opinion, I don't really care for the reality shows. I'd rather watch the news, as depressing that can be sometimes.
Yeah.
At least it's not people, you know, jumping on cue and going back to like trained animals, you know.
When you're taking it as broad as mostly all TV, not just reality TV, because there's not too much on that's informative information for all of us to watch.
The news is, especially if you're the informant.
The news, the news definitely doesn't tell you anything except what they want you to know. If you want to know what's really going on in the world, you have to go out and find it yourself, and it's not going to be aired on TV.
Well, that's with anything.
That's like 10% of what we need to know. So
Great point.
Well, that's 10% of what we didn't know.
Nice.
Since you know so much, Delicious.
You know what? It's like the shows of substance, like the Reverend Run's House, or the Fresh Prince of Bel-Airs, the Martins, even they got the TV land with the shows as far as Leave It to Beaver or Bonanza, Gunsmoke. You know, it's still an audience for shows with substance. The Blackish.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. It's still shows of substance, but it's like those are kind of just swept up on the rug, and they don't really market and advertise or really push it to the forefront as they do with these reality shows.
And Run's House was the beginning of like reality shows.
Yes.
But it wasn't, I guess it wasn't TV and kind of like ignorant enough, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it showed some wholesome. And to be honest, he was a ordained minister, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he still had some level of morals and solid foundation for his kids and family.
True.
Now you watching, for instance, the Kardashians and stuff. You do a comparison to the kids their age compared to how we grew up that age. Man, some of the stuff they do and wear and say, man, you better not ever say that at my mom's house.
It's almost like they brainwashing these little girls to be as fake as they possibly can.
That's it.
I mean, this stuff with all the plastic surgery and all the butt injections and all, it's really sad, because this is what they're pushing on these little girls. You want to look like a Barbie doll, pretty much. That's not reality.
It's not.
Whose reality is that? Like, how do you guys feel about? Okay,
well,
it's
that's
one
not
thing as far as the
necessarily true,
enhancement. It's one
because
thing as far as enhancements. You know, it's one thing as far as enhancement. It's one thing as far as makeup. It's one thing as far as I want to go get my hair done to look nice. I want to go, go put some makeup on to look nice or whatnot. But you're getting breast lifts, butt injections. You're getting fat sucked out. You're getting, it's like.
I think it's all in, like you said, what you're watching. If you're watching the Kardashians or some other show like that, then yeah. But if you want to watch reality TV and you want something that's kind of going to help you with your body image, then you have The Biggest Loser. You have My 600-Pound Life. You have things that are showing you that there's more to life than that, and you can lose weight and be healthy and things of that nature. So it's all in what you choose to watch.
Let me ask you this. That was a great point that you made. How do you feel? What's marketed more? What's advertised more? Would you say, would it be the Kardashians or the 600-pound weight loss or the Biggest Loser? What do you feel like is the most popular?
Kardashians are everywhere.
Because there's that thin line between informative and entertaining. And people's always going to pick entertaining over informative.
Right.
Always, all the time. Looking good, looking good. Okay. Here's another one. This one here is real. Stephon Marbury called out Michael Jordan this week and said that he was robbing our neighborhoods with the cost of his sneakers, as well as kids are being murdered for these particular shoes. Stephon Marbury shoes they range from $15 to $20. Shaquille O'Neal is another superstar that, you know, kind of did the same thing. He has shoes for like $20 to $25 now, compared to Michael Jordan shoes from $185 to $200. What is you guys' thoughts on that situation?
Well, I think that, you know, I think that nobody would wear the $20, $30 Stephen Marbury's as much, whether or not Jordan was $100, $150, or $50. It's just not that popular of a shoe. So, you know, he can be mad about it, but at the end of the day, it's all about business with Jordan. People can be mad about him with the shoes, things that he's doing with the prison systems. I mean, it's all business to him at the end of the day. So he has to talk to him in a business aspect about that.
Well,
I'm just gonna give a short response before we go to break. Well, I know a lot of people's not going to wear Stephen Marbury shoes because there's no such person as Stephen Marbury. His first name is Stefan, first of all. Second of all, I believe after we come back from break, then I'll get deeper into my question.
All righty. Well, stay tuned to Mars versus Venus, and we'll be back in 2 and 2.
Our town, our TV. Amherst City Cable.
You make me wear my bike helmet. You taught me never to run with scissors. And to follow the swimming rules.
You tell me to stay away from drugs.
To always buckle my seatbelt.
So why do you keep a loaded gun in your drawer?
How safe is that?
You asked them to follow some safety rules. Now they're asking you. In fact, they're counting on you. Never let your gun get into the wrong hands. Remember, always lock it up. Visit ncpc.org.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Our town, our TV. Amherst City Cable.
Welcome back to Mars versus Venus. I am your host with the most, What's in Store with T. Moore. And I got a phenomenal guest to the left of me.
T-licious.
And the voice of reason.
Nice. Before we went to break, we were talking about Stefan Marbury. He actually called out Michael Jordan this week and said that he was robbing our neighborhoods with the cost of his sneakers, as well as kids being murdered for these Michael Jordan sneakers. Before we left, you was placing your thoughts on that.
I am overjoyed. Somebody actually stood up to call him out. Well, the thing that they try to discredit him about is that he's like overseas in an overseas league, which is, you know what I mean, he still has to make a living whether he plays in the States or overseas. But that shouldn't even have anything to do with it. But the reality is, first of all, you have a black icon and something that is worshipped, that he produces, that he has set precedent, and it's killing our young people. You don't hear about a lot of the Caucasians being murdered and fighting over these shoes. You hear of the African American youth and even African American adult men getting murdered and killed over this. And I think really he should make a stand and say something, because the reality is, as much as we pay for these shoes, not even 90% of that is cost of the shoe.
Yes.
You got other people living in third world countries that's dying and living in poverty making these shoes, and then you got people over here overseas in the United States killing for the shoes. So it's a lose-lose situation any way you look at it. People living in poverty and some people going to the grave over them. You know, what's the point of it?
I do understand. It's almost like is greed or business. He's made enough money 10 times. I mean, his kids is going to be well off.
But it's not just him. If you're going to compare it that way, I mean, we have Louboutins that are into the thousands, and you don't see people getting killed over them. So it's all in people's behavior.
I truly understand, and that's a great point. But Michael Jordan, he was like it was the genesis. He was the beginning of all this. You know, of these sneakers coming out to be 150, 160, 170, 80. And he's the face, or one of the faces of Nike. I believe that he has enough power to say, at this point in time, maybe not his first contract, but at this point in time, I want to reduce the price of my sneakers. So people that live in these poverty-stricken areas, who worship me, who worship the brand, can actually afford the shoe.
So do you think other people are going to follow suit if he does that? Because at this point, LeBron's shoes are almost as high as Jordan's. So if he doesn't follow suit, then...
I believe Michael Jordan has everybody that plays ball, majority of people that plays ball, they want to be like Mike. He's one of the only ones that ever had a commercial be like Mike. He's the president. If he decided that he wanted to reduce his sneakers, I think everybody else will fall in line, will fall suit as far as reducing his sneakers. And Marbury gets his shoes made in the same places where these Jordans come from, and they cost nothing but $5 to make. You know, these shoes come from China. Jordan is he's also vested into prison systems. What has he done to really just give back? You know, not just him. You know, Marbury actually called out LeBron. He called out Sir Charles. Barkley never made a pair of shoes under $185. You know, so, but Jordan he's the one. You know, so I just believe if he just took a stand and said he wanted to reduce the price of these sneakers, everybody else will fall in line.
But I believe you have to look at the method compared to the means. For the reality is, okay, LeBron's shoes are expensive.
Yes.
But a lot of people are buying LeBron's to actually play basketball in.
Yes.
How many people, whether you go to Open Gym, paying an AAU league, how many people do you actually see wearing the $185, $200 Jordans actually playing?
That's true.
It's a fashion statement.
Great point.
It's not that he's selling the shoes to help people in their career, to help people, youth, you know, become better athletes and stay focused on positive things. It's a fashion statement. People buy Jordans to throw them with their jeans. They buy Jordans to throw them with some more Jordan sweatpants.
True.
They're not playing them to enhance their game. The ones that, honestly, I've heard many guys, most of my friends that actually play ball, say that the Jordans that they're paying the most money for are they're not even comfortable to play ball in.
I attest, because I'm a sneakerhead and I buy Jordans. Mm-hmm. If you go back to last season in the league, it was guys busting out of these Jordans, running in dead heat, stopping on the dime, and their foot are flying out of these Jordans. They're not really made well. Now, LeBron, on the other hand, since he's been in the NBA, I've bought one pair of his shoes, and they're the most comfortable pair of shoes that I've ever had as far as a sneaker on the basketball side. Now, it's a great shoe. You know, it's ankle support, everything you look for, arch support, you know, everything you look for in a sneaker if you play ball. Jordan, not so much. Right. The point that you wanted to make with the Louis Vuittons, could you finish that?
I was just saying that you got to look at the people who are buying the shoes too, and because people are willing to pay thousands of dollars for shoes, but they're not killing each other to get them either. So that's like a whole nother issue of who's buying these shoes and what's their morals and what's their life really like before they decide that they're going to kill somebody for these shoes. Because it's not like they're the most expensive shoes ever made, but you can look at higher brands and people aren't doing that. They're either buying them or they're not.
Great point.
And that's why I say Jordan needs to step in and talk, because the reality is you have the inner city mainly buying these shoes. Because the reality is, you never see a Jordan store on Rodeo Drive. You see Louis Vuitton, you see Gucci, you see all of that. But
Chanel.
You have never seen a Jordan store on in a big major city.
Great point.
Where, you know what I mean? You've never seen that. And to me, it's not judging, but it's sad when another African-American black male can watch his own people genocide over something that he's making billions of dollars off of.
That's why I say he needs to step in.
But you know what I mean? And it's not even so much when you look at the whole murder-death toll, But it's looking at it, you're brainwashed. If you don't have a pair of Jordans, you're not cool. If you don't have a pair of Jordans, you're not in. No, what's wrong with that? You know, where did Stephon Marbury's, I believe his shoes, what are they called? Cons?
No, they're I think they're called.
Because wasn't Converse making them at one point?
Yes, they were.
But it goes all the way back. Even before Jordan, you had Dr. J that was wearing Converse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just
Magic Johnson.
It's
Larry
not
Bird.
it's not that he was the one that set precedent. He was the one that everyone iconized. They looked at. They were the one that said, "Oh, this is going to be the end thing." And one thing, the reason why I believe, my personal belief, the reason why it's so detrimental about these shoes, because just like you go back to the whole commercial statement, be like Mike.
Right.
We were never created to be like another human being. We was always supposed to
be yourself,
act ourselves and become as the creator.
Yes.
So anytime we're told to act like another human being who came from the dust just like we did, we're already bringing ourselves to damnation.
Great point. Great point. And a lot of the things that are happening, they are inner cities, and you touch on it. It could be a lack of education. It could be ignorance. It could be envy, jealousy, hate. You know, this man has it, so I want to take from this man. You know, it's just a sad way of thinking. Made some great points. Next question is, what are your thoughts on the police today? Are you in fear of them if you are stopped or pulled over? Anybody can take it.
Definitely. I mean, you definitely don't feel as safe as you used to. Maybe even 10 years ago, getting pulled over, you're automatically paranoid whether you've done something or not, if you're going to make it home, if you're going to go to jail, if you're going to die. I mean, it's so many options now instead of just being safe or just getting a ticket that it's getting out of hand.
And this is coming from a female. Wow. What's your points on that?
I've never been so much afraid. I've always been kind of alert when I got pulled over. From the simple fact, I go from I went from a financial standpoint because I'd always go back to my first time being pulled over. You know, I'm young. I'm under my parents' insurance. The car's still in my parents' name. So I'm looking at it as the insurance getting high and me getting in trouble with my parents.
Yeah.
So now I look at it as the point, like, then I go to the point now as being an adult. Okay, what did I do to get pulled over?
Right.
I know I didn't do anything to get pulled over that warrants me getting out of the car and going to jail.
Yeah.
But the reality is, what will be the officer's consequences in his mind, and what measures will he take to do it?
Yeah.
So it gets to the point where, like, it's almost like you're strategizing rather than being pulled over and saying, okay, officer, I'm sorry, what did I do wrong? It's almost like, how am I going to make it out of this alive, or how am I going to make it out of it where my side is actually...
Are they going to plant something on you? Or
Yeah.
are they going to say you did something you didn't? Like,
and it's going to be fair whether I go to court or not, you know?
That's a great point. I live in Cleveland. I live in the inner city of Cleveland, and it's different for me. A lot of the patrolmen, a lot of the police, they are of the Caucasian background. And living in the inner city, I would say is maybe 85% black. And you get pulled over by the police, man, so many things go through your head. So many things go through your head as far as they're going to plant something, they're going to say this, they're going to say that, they're going to say, I try to reach for something. I really think about getting home to my family, getting home to my kids. It's serious. You got a lot of these Caucasian patrolmen who never grew up in the inner city, not even from Cleveland, don't even really know how to converse with people from other backgrounds. You know, it's definitely your antennas are up, a little nervousness, a little fear.
Especially when you're driving on a certain street, whether or not you're doing anything wrong on that street, but if it's a known street, you're driving down and you get pulled over. I got pulled over. They told me the reason I got pulled over was because my plate light was out. Okay, I take their word for it. We do the checks. I'm clean. I go. Next day, I go to the auto parts store to replace the bulb. Do you think it was ever blown out? No.
That is insane. So it's like they're not even being held accountable for a lot of their actions. They're not being held accountable for a lot of things they're doing. They're actually shooting people down on camera, on video, and being free, being acquitted of everything that we saw with our own eyes. So it's like the fear level has definitely risen. and you just never know what this situation is going to turn out to be if you get pulled over. You guys got any parting shots before we go?
No.
Nope.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Mars versus Venus. And people, always remember, when you're having fun, it gets late early.